And welcome back, everyone. This is my new movie review. It's been a while since I've done one, but this movie just came out, so I figured why not talk about it? And that is the SpongeBob movie, Sponge on the Run. Originally titled The SpongeBob Movie, It's a Wonderful Sponge. Could have been a better title, but as we won't talk about titles being good or bad. Also, if this is laggy, I'm sorry, but my computer's being a big fudge nugget today. Thank you, HP. You make the cheapest and the terriblest computers. That's why no one likes your products. Now, the SpongeBob movie, The Sponge on the Run, is the third full-length SpongeBob movie. The show's been on since 1999. The first film was released in 2004, the second one in 2015, and the third one, at the time of this recording, yesterday. Now, this movie got some criticism from fans because it has like I guess because of a similar situation from a 2005 episode called "Have You Seen This Snail?" In the episode, Gary is missing, and SpongeBob has to go and find him, or at least try to find him. And in this movie, Gary is missing, and SpongeBob has to go and find him. So you say, well, Mikey, what's the difference? Well, in the episode, Have You Seen This Snail? Gary's gone missing because he ran away. Because SpongeBob was so preoccupied with a paddleball competition that he forgot to feed Gary. So Gary, needing food and feeling unloved and forgotten and heartbroken, ran away. And was soon taken in by an old lady who has a habit of overfeeding her snails, and you can kind of guess what they're insinuating happens when the snails get overfed. It's kind of dark, but it's okay. In Sponge on the Run, Gary is missing because he was kidnapped or snail-napped and taken to the lost city of Atlantic City. Yes, I said that right. The lost city of Atlantic City. There's gambling in this movie. There's your spoiler. There's gambling. Crap tables. Nice. And in the show and in the first film, we see King Neptune. Like they don't talk about Poseidon; they talk about Neptune. In this movie, it's not King Neptune; it's King Poseidon. Poseidon is the king, and he rules in the lost city of Atlantic City. There's also some very interesting cameos in this movie because, in traditional SpongeBob movie fashion, there's some live-action scenes mixed in with the animation. And cameos range from Keanu Reeves, Snoop Dogg, Danny Trejo. Interesting selection there of cameo for actors. But still very nice. It has a pretty good musical number by Snoop Dogg. I'm not a big rap fan, but he gave a decent performance for a SpongeBob movie. In the first film, the cameo was David Hasselhoff playing a lifeguard. I bet you got that reference. And in the second movie, the live-action scene takes place on a beach full of people, and the main villain, Burger Beard, at his food truck, which is a pirate ship. This movie, I think, was pretty good. I've been a fan of SpongeBob since I was in my early childhood. The show came out when I was 4 years old. Well, technically 3, because it premiered in May. The pilot aired in May of '99, and I was born in December of '95, so I was about 3.5 years old when the show first started airing. So I wouldn't have been watching it then, but I would have watched it. Started when I was about 5 or 6, and I haven't stopped because the show's still going. And it's currently going into its 13th season soon, whenever they can begin production because of the pandemic. And this is their third movie. I'm sure they'll make a fourth movie. I'm sure they're not going to stop at just a trilogy. But there are also spin-offs of this show starting now. Like we have also the same time this movie premiered on Paramount Plus, which you can start your account for like $5.99 a month. It's not bad. And they have a whole lot of stuff to watch. It's also where they're going to be putting the reboot of Frasier. Can't wait for that either. But that's a different video. at the same time this movie dropped, they also dropped the first season, which has 6 episodes of the first SpongeBob spinoff called Camp Coral. Camp spelled K-A-M-P, where it focuses on 10-year-old SpongeBob and similar aged versions of the other characters meeting at summer camp. Now, my only problem with this is SpongeBob did not meet Sandy Squirrel at summer camp. He met her in the first episode, because it had like 2 or 3 segments in the first episode. He met her in the second segment called Tea at the Tea Dome, when he first spotted her fighting a giant clam. And they were adults. They didn't meet as kids at summer camp, so that's kind of messing with the continuity. But the animation's just like this movie here. It's a 3D style animation, or 2D. It's not the traditional flat animation. It's like what it looks like behind me. That's what they look like throughout the whole movie. When typically this is what they would look like in the live action sequences of the animated films. But Camp Coral, it's not a bad show. Now, but there are people like, well, Steven Hillenburg didn't want no spin-offs. He may have wanted that originally, but he knew about Camp Coral. Tom Kenny, who the voice of SpongeBob and many other cartoon characters, and also a former stand-up comedian, a good friend of Steven Hillenburg's, had revealed in a recent interview that Hillenburg was at several meetings for Camp Coral. He knew about Camp Coral. He wasn't too big on the animation style they chose, because it's just like what they are in this movie. But he kind of warmed over to the idea of that animation, but he knew about Camp Coral. Now, I can't make the same argument for the other spinoff they just announced, which is going to focus on SpongeBob's friend, Patrick Star. This Pinkalummox, whose binocular usage needs some updated learning. They are giving Patrick his own spinoff, and I think they're also working on one about Squidward. So Hillenburg likely did not know about those shows, but he did know about Camp Coral. So he knew about the first spinoff, the new spinoff, the one that's already out. I cannot make the same defense for the one with Patrick and the one they're working on for Squidward. But for Camp Coral, calm your heels, people. He knew about that show. They're not disgracing his legacy with that show because he knew about it. Now, the other 2 shows, we don't know if he ever agreed to that. That's not been talked about yet. But Tom Kenny, I'm going to take Tom Kenny at his word, because he was a good friend of Steven Hillenburg, and he worked with Hillenburg when he wanted to look for the voice of SpongeBob. Like, they were like this, like with friends. The equivalent of SpongeBob and Patrick. I'm going to take Tom Kenny's word that Tom Kenny was at meetings for Camp Coral, that he knew about the show was being made. He knew it was happening. I don't want to take the opinion of a worker who worked at Nickelodeon for a while, but then left the show and the network before Camp Coral was even conceived. Yes, there's a former SpongeBob employee who's saying, I don't think the show is what Steven would want. This employee also left the network and the show about a year or 2 before this spinoff was even started being conceived. So I don't think his opinion really matters. You don't work there anymore. You quit. You left before that show was even thought about. So shush. And as a lifelong fan of SpongeBob, if Steven Hillenburg knew about the spinoff, leave it alone. He knew about it. He didn't protest it. That's all you can say. The other 2 shows, I'll let you fight about that. I'll let you all fight about that one. That again, back to the movie. A good movie. As a shocking revelation at the end, and a very sad thing at the very end of the movie when the credits begin. Because harkening back to Steven Hillenburg, he was the show's creator, producer, and wrote some of the scripts and was the animator. Did some of the animations for the show. He was diagnosed in 2017 with ALS, which I did the Ice Bucket Challenge for in 2014. But he was diagnosed with the disease in 2017, and he passed away in November of 2018 from complications from the disease. his final main project with the show was I believe season 11 or so, maybe 10 of the show, and the second movie before he passed away. But he knew about the early parts of the show, Camp Coral. And to honor Steven Hillenburg, at the very end of this movie, just before the credits roll, they have a dedication to him. A picture, a hand-drawn thing of a SpongeBob with the words "In memory of Steven Hillenburg." And that right there is sad, because he was a big part of my childhood, because SpongeBob is his show. And I was heartbroken when he passed away. So for them to honor him that way in the third movie, good on you. And again, as a lifelong SpongeBob fan, what do I rate this movie out of a scale of 10? Because that's all I'm going to do. I'm not going to give you no 20, 30, 40, 50, or 100 scale. A 7.5 to an 8 out of 10. It's not perfect, but no movie, no matter how good it will ever be perfect. Especially when you're talking about the third installment in a series, in a franchise. But 7.5 to 8 out of 10. So it's not bad. It's above average. It's an above average movie for. It's a good movie for SpongeBob. I would have rated it higher had the animation been more traditional. I'm not the biggest fan of this kind of animation, but the story to me was good. It was an updated version of Have you seen this now? Because instead of Gary running away because he's feeling unloved, he's stolen. He's snail napped. So it gives SpongeBob more of a reason to go find him, more of a reason to leave Bikini Bottom and find him, because he's always leaving Bikini Bottom to find something. In the first movie, he leaves to go to Shell City to get King Neptune's crown to save his boss's life. I'm telling this like it's very dark. In the second movie, SpongeBob and the entire gang leave Bikini Bottom to find the secret recipe to the Krabby Patty, which is the burger that SpongeBob makes of the Krusty Krab since the beginning of the series. There's a secret recipe that he uses they use for the burgers, and the villain of the second who stole it, so they all had to leave the ocean to find it. And in this movie, he leaves Bikini Bottom to go look for Gary, and it leads him to the lost city of Atlantic City, where he also made the little gambling problem. But that's my review of the SpongeBob movie, Sponge Out of Water. Let me know if you all saw it, if you liked it, if you hated it, let me know. And if you want to see it, you can rent it on YouTube or several other places, but you can also see it where it premiered on Paramount Plus, $5.99 a month, with limited commercials. They also have the main SpongeBob series and Camp Coral, the first SpongeBob spinoff, again, which is a decent show. So thank you all for watching. See you next video. Cheers.